Welcome back, everybody. Thank you for joining us this week in America. Website thisweekinamerica.us. As mentioned, our guest on the program, Zainab Mohammed. She laments how people fear for disabled. That's the name of her new book, People Fear for Disabled. Zainab is coming to us via Skype from London. She's 15 years old. It's an excellent book. A new book of poems encourages empathy by poignantly expressing what it feels to suffer from a disability. Zainab, welcome to This Week in America. It's great to have you with us on the program.
Thank you.
I was really moved by reading the book, People Fear for Disabled. And you can go to our website, thisweekinamerica.us, and link onto a website to get information on the book. The book's available at Amazon, Barnes & Noble as well. Let's talk about what prompted you to write this. You're 15 years old. With a disability that's very rare. Talk about the disability that you have.
It's called PFFD, which is proximal femoral focal deficiency. And it's really rare. Like when you're a kid, your parents it's possible to amputate your foot, but my parents decided to leave it for me to decide. But yeah, it's kind of it's painful, but then it's manageable at the same time.
Yeah, and you talk about that in the book, and the book is written in the character Zeden, and we'll talk about that here in a second. You describe your life as is sort of gray. Talk about what life is like for you, and then we'll talk about how you came to put this book together.
Well, I described it gray because some days there's a lot of darkness where I'm really negative and stuff like that. Also depending on the fact that I am a teenager. And also some days are just really happy. And I'm just you know what? I'm fine with my disability and things like that. But then some days people say things and then it just brings me back down to those dark days.
Talk a little bit about trying to be accepted. And you touch on that in the book of poems, People Fear for Disabled. Talk about what it was like to try to be accepted and then the hurt that kids would inflict on you by names and actions.
I think trying to be accepted is one of the hardest things in life. For me, especially when it's something out of the ordinary, because we tend to use the word normal a lot. So when you see something that doesn't look quite right, people stare, people say names and things like that, and it gets quite difficult sometimes, and you just can't handle it. So you just tend to push everyone away and just not talk to anyone because, it's just ridiculous. The amount of things you hear, it's different things like peg leg, different names. So, yeah.
With us on This Week in America, Zainab Mohammed. She's the author of the book, People Fear for Disabled. Zainab is 15 years old, was 14 when she wrote the book. It's a book of poems. And you say that with poetry and writing, that's how really you've learned to express yourself. When do you develop that ability to, I can say what I want, I can do it in a poetry form, I can write, this is making me feel better, feel good about myself?
Well, when I was 4 and I started to notice things more, I'm always like, Dad, why is this different? Why is this different? He's like, oh, it's not. And things like that. But I knew some bit about me was so different. So I couldn't put it into words. So I decided to write about jumble random words everywhere and try and fix everything together. And I find it easier to write than to talk to people because it gets frustrating after a while when people don't understand you. But then when you write it down, the person reads how you feel and they're like, oh, I didn't know this is how you felt and stuff like that.
You said that it's easier to give thanks rather than complain, and that's something that you've tried to do. How difficult was it to get to that point? Because it would only be natural to have a little self-pity and to be angered at the situation you find yourself in. How did that turn to, okay, I'm going to focus on the positive and I'm going to learn how to give thanks?
Well, it started with my dad and my mom. They're really religious people and stuff like that. And they said, if you have no one to talk to, you talk to God. So some days I'm just I'm frustrated. There's no one to talk to. I don't want to be a burden. So I just talk to God, even though he can't hear me. I feel like he's listening. And then somehow I just feel like my problem is kind of half solved without someone like without having like a proper conversation with God. So yeah, I just feel like everything's solved. So I give thanks rather than to complain about what I don't have and things like that.
Zainab Mohammed, our guest on the program, author of the book People Fear for Disabled. Zainab is 15 years old, wrote the book when she was 14 years old, and it really explores her feelings, what she went through, what she would like others to learn from her situation. And one thing that, well, let's talk about that. What would you like people to take away as they read this book? You can't help but read People Fear for Disabled and not have an attitude change on how you just your actions, your words as you're dealing with people who have some type of disability. What do you hope people take away when they finish reading the book People Fear for Disabled?
I think like they're kind of shocked and stuff like that because they're like, oh, like because people that knew me when they read it, they were like, oh, this girl's so happy. Like she walks around, she's fine. But then there's more than meets the eye, if you know what I mean. Like you look at someone, you think the person's fine, but then the person's actually going through hard stuff. But the thing is, like, eventually, it kind of gets better.
The book is called People Fear for Disabled. Zainab Mohammed, our guest on This Week in America. Information available at our website, thisweekinamerica.us. One thing you talked about is you'd like people to understand the difference between empathy and sympathy. And explain that and the impact that has on you.
Well, they're bullies and they're friends. Well, bullies, they tend not to like empathize with you because if they're in your position, like you literally have to answer to them at that moment, you feel like you feel so frightened, you'd like hate yourself. So I just wanted to understand that sometimes it's not easy being like different from everyone else. So they should see it from like people like me, like our point of view. But like sympathy is like when your friend like she tries to understand, like she like tries to comfort you, even though it's kind of like pity, but it's like a comfort pity.
The book is People Fear for Disabled. You're listening to This Week in America. Information on Zainab's book available at our website, thisweekinamerica.us. When did you decide to do the book of poems and then the reaction of your family members? You described your father as a role model and very supportive. How did the idea come about that, okay, I think I can express myself and influence other people by writing the book? When did you decide to do that?
Well, I started the book like writing since for like a long time now, like since I was 6, because my dad, he was a very busy man. So talking wasn't really a good way to connect with him. So writing was much easier. I'll write something, he'll read it, and then he'll understand how I'm feeling and things like that. So my family, they're very supportive, obviously. Like when they read it, they were literally like, oh my God, like why didn't you tell us before that hand and stuff like that? But they came to understand that speaking is not like my strong point, but writing is.
In the book, we see the world through the eyes of Zeden. Talk about her and the similarities between her and you.
Well, Zayden and I, like I said in the book, we're very close, like closer than you think. I'm basically Zayden, or my subconscious is. It's because when I was younger, I never wanted to be myself. I always like wished I was someone else. So I created this person in my head, Zeden, who was this girl who had like good legs, who had like everything, who didn't have that much problem. So it just came to realize me that since Zeden and I are the same person, we still got the same problems. So, but Zeden handles her problems like better than I do.
And she has, as we read the book, People Fear for Disabled, as we read the poems in the book, she fakes her happiness. Did you go through that period where you responded the way I guess maybe you thought others thought you should be responding?
Yes, like, and I still do because like being disabled is basically kind of like being a burden. Like I come from a family of like 5 kids and stuff like that. So I didn't want to be like the one who was like always, needing the most attention. So you have to fake it till you make it. But the thing is, like, when you keep doing that, you eventually not make it. So I tend not to do that as much anymore.
As you were growing up, were there a lot of tears in wondering, why me? Why did this happen to me?
Yes, because my first sister, she's completely normal, and then there's me, and then there's the other one who's completely normal, and the other one, and the other one. So being like the only one, like out of generations, it's like I don't get it. It's like, was there a mistake? Like, did my mom have any drugs when she was giving birth to me and things like that? You start to wonder about things like that, like every single thing. So it's just like, of all people, why did God pick me?
Was it difficult to get people to understand, okay, there is a disability, there is a handicap, it may limit me physically, mentally my mind is fine. Is there an assumption that they think that there are some deficiencies both mentally and physically?
Yeah, different people, they do think, oh, she's weak, so we shouldn't bother her. But like they've come to understand how I am. But like back then, they're just like, oh, she's disabled. Let's just leave her out of everything. We wouldn't want to, hurt her. We wouldn't want her to like, you know, blame us for her hurting herself and things like that.
What response are you getting from other disabled people? As I'm reading this, you certainly, these are not just your views and your perspective and your hurt as you've gone through life. I'm sure it reflects that of many people. What kind of feedback are you getting so far from people fear for disabled?
The most I've gotten is about, disabled signs and things like that. Because some people don't use wheelchairs, but physically disabled, like with prosthetic and stuff. So when they walk into a place that's supposedly meant to be normal and stuff, like people stare at them like they don't belong there. And like they like tell me about how it makes them feel like they're a sign, like they don't feel like they're humans anymore. Like they've been categorized as like, just like they're being alienated from everything. Like they're just very different. Like they don't belong where they are. Like they only belong in a place where it basically says disabled. Like it's like some kind of disabled discrimination, basically.
The book is very important and very well done. People Fear for Disabled. Zainab Mohammed, our guest in the program. Information by going to our website, thisweekinamerica.us. You talk a lot in the book about pain. Talk about the physical pain and the emotional pain that you've gone through and may suffer to this day.
Well, the physical pain is not as much as the emotional pain because the physical one is just like, oh, I don't look good in this outfit. I shouldn't wear it. Oh, my prosthetic looks too weird in this. I don't like it. So it's just more of like accepting how you look physically. But the emotional one hurts more because when one person says something, it like your mind starts to believe it and then it keeps going on like ringing around your ears, and by the time you know it, it's not like the person saying it anymore, it's you saying it to yourself. Like it's you saying, oh, you're disabled, it's you saying you can't do it, it's you saying like you'll never be as good as you think you are, and things like that. Like the emotional pain is so much that I feel sometimes trapped in myself and I can't get out of it until when I feel like I have to write. That's yeah.
The book is People Fear for Disabled. Another topic that you talk about in the book is faith. You mentioned before the family is a religious family. You've talked about God being one of your role models. How difficult is it to maintain that faith during all that you've gone through?
It's very difficult because you know how we say there is heaven, hell, and purgatory and things like that. You think if you don't have faith, you go to hell. So that's not what I mostly focus on. I focus more on if I don't have faith now, I'll never have faith. So I just keep pushing myself to have faith, even though I'm like, oh, I can't do this. I'm just like, you know what? Yes, you can. Yes, you can. I believe you can do it. Like I tell myself I can. And that's the most important thing to me, really, to tell myself like I can do something.
Education is very important to you. Talk about the role of education in making you who you are today and your future.
is one of the most important things in life. Yeah, to be honest, my dad, ever since I've been growing up, he's pushed me so hard to be the best I can be, and I'm grateful for everything he's done. Because without education, I wouldn't write a book. Without education, I wouldn't be able to express my feelings and things like that. So education it's key to life after prayer. But that's basically it.
Several minutes left in the program. Zainab Mohammed, our guest on the program. You can log on to our website, get information on the book, People Fear for Disabled. You talk a lot about bouts of negativity, and I'm sure there are people listening, disabled or non-disabled, who go through bouts of negativity, and they will listen to you and read the book and go, she's really doing well, and she has turned this into an opportunity. How did you get through those periods of negativity?
I wouldn't say I got through it. I'll say I'm still trying to get through it. It's really hard. Like, but I have, people who are there for me, and I'm grateful. Like my two best friends who are always there for me. And like, it's basically when you learn how to talk more as much as you write, you just learn that the more like you become less negative about everything, you start to see things in a brighter light. Yeah.
You say in the beginning of the book, I'm not done yet. It's a disabled world. Are things changing, do you think?
Yeah, because I used to have like when I was younger and stuff like that, I had, suicidal thoughts because I thought people like me they don't exist in the world. Because when I was in Nigeria, I have never seen anyone like me ever. So I thought, I don't belong here. This is not where I'm meant to be. So, like, writing this stuff made me realize that when I came to this country, there are loads of people who are like me and who are not like me, but still have, like, the general disability, the word, and stuff like that. It's just like, I don't think I'm done yet. Like, I need to keep going. And I'm still telling myself till today that I still need to keep going. And it is a disabled world because somehow we are all disabled. I mean, I use glasses. Glasses are a disability. It doesn't have to be physical or mental or anything like that. It's just everyone is disabled in their own way.
A couple minutes left in the show, and we began the discussion talking about the disability, which is PFFD, which is very rare. Tell us a little bit about that and the restrictions that has put on you, and whether that's something that will change with time, or is this permanent?
For me, it's permanent. But the thing is, like, it has like some bones. And my hip is not like a proper hip. Some bones. It makes me walk like a weirdo, as they say. And it's just basically it restricts me from like running, from like doing like very hectic sports and things like that. But I'm doing the best I can. Let's just say.
I mentioned education and continuing your education and studying, and the book is excellently written. Where do you see yourself 5, 10, 15 years? What would you like to do?
All I know is that I want to make a big difference. That's just what I know. But I just want to start from I want to like start building myself in a way that I know no one has ever built themselves in. I don't want to be, she's disabled, she's like them, like things like that. I want to be better. I want things to be better for people like me, and even for people that are not like me. I just want everything to be like good.
Well, the book is excellent. It's called People Fear for Disabled. Zainab Mohammed has been our guest on the program, coming to us via Skype from London, where she's going to school. The book is available literally worldwide. You can get information on it by going to our website, thisweekinamerica.us. It is very well written, will give you great insight, and will really open up, I think, everyone's eyes to the difficulties that sometimes we inadvertently place on people, whether disabled or not. It'll make you think before you talk. It will make you very aware. Zainab, it's been a pleasure to have you on the program. Excellent job in writing the book. Thank you so much for being with us on the show today.
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
It is our pleasure. And the book, once again, is People Fear for Disabled. Zainab Mohammed is our guest, and information, of course, available at our website, thisweekinamerica.us.